So I'm Edmon Chung from DotAsia, and as they prepare, I think the what Esther just said is really important as you think about new GTLDs. But being from DotAsia, I guess I'd like to bring a lighter note to this, and like to think that DotAsia has value, and we'd like to say I'll talk a little bit more about how we have been we believe we are creating value for the community, and also how a new GTLD can create value, and it's could be beyond. Okay, I see my slides are up. Where did I click?
You can prompt me and I can forward it for the virtual viewers.
Ah. So, well, I guess as they continue to prepare, well, one of the things that I think today what we're talking about is really the future of many TLDs. I think probably we think about whether to apply at this point, but how do we think about what the future might look like? And one of the things that I wanted. Thank you. And one of the things I wanted to say is that really, I've been starting with this slide for a number of presentations, and this is in 1954. Guess what this is? This bunch of experts got together and thought what a personal computer might look like in 2004. So, 1954, the best experts in computers got together and thought about how computers would look like in 2004. And this is what they came up with. I don't know what the steering wheel does, but in any case, this is really what happened in 2004. So we can sit together and think about what's going to happen, and with new GTLDs in the future. But I think, even with all the experts around the room, we're not going to see what exactly will happen. And I think that the world, in the future would be interesting. It would be more new TLDs, and definitely it would be different from when John Pastel first thought about it. I think this is a really interesting picture. It talks about I think it's the .fr, .uk, and all the country code top level domains, and that world is much changed from then to now. When I think ICANN approved the new GTLD process, and from now to when new GTLDs are actually in play, I think that will change as well. But I think one of the critical questions come down to people usually ask, so will they be used? I mean, it's a very legitimate question. I mean, is .com always going to be the place to go to? Will people choose a TLD when they are given a choice? Think about all the new GTLDs that did happen, like .Asia. And one of the studies that we're seeing is that, yes, people do use a new GTLD. And here are just some of the examples that we are seeing in .Asia. Some of the names that actually are available in .com. It's still available in .com, but they decided to register .Asia. And these are really interesting development. And some of the things that I think, in terms of a new GTLD registry, I guess, just some of our experiences is to really understand the community, who you're trying to serve, and, in terms of what our work, of course, we work very closely with affiliates who takes care of a backend, which is very important, and, the technology side. But at DotAsia as the registry, besides the policies and processes, I think developing mass market awareness and also facilitating foundation of usage, actual people using domain names, that has been one of the things that we have been focusing a lot on. And I think, partially a good part of DotAsia's work is really understanding the Asian internet marketplace. And it's very different from what you see here in the US and in Europe. We have, in Asia, actually, we already have the most users around the world in Asia. But in terms of penetration rate, it's second to last. It's just around 20%. And that represents a lot of potential, but it also represents a lot of differences between users. Another thing that we keep ourselves updated to is the macro things that are happening in Asia, and one of which is really important for us, as well as, for example, the market integration. People don't, people see EU coming together over probably the last century, Asia is going through that process right now, and that's going to make a difference. And this is some of the things that GTLDs should think about as we, especially geographic TLDs. Another interesting thing, what does the market look like? What are the demographics? Right now in Asia, actually most people are under 30, and for some reason they have more than 24 hours a day. And that's because they're doing multitasking. They're doing 4 things at once. 38-hour days. That's the Asian community. And this is how we try to understand the community we serve. And one of the interesting characteristics about Asia Internet is that entertainment is #1. It's not email, not social networking. Entertainment on the internet is #1 usage of internet in Asia. And that's also why DotAsia contributes and invests into entertainment-related projects like the Asian Oscars, Asian Film Awards. DotAsia starting to be used, and we, worked with a number of movies like Breakup Club .Asia, which featured Jackie Chan's son, and of course we worked with Jackie Chan himself on his new movie, and that's one of the showcase IDN.Asia domains. And these are some of the things, and Wonder Girls .Asia, that's sort of like the Spice Girls in Asia, and that has sort of inspired a lot of usage from Asian celebrities, and the biggest names in Asia are starting to use .Asia domains. But what is really exciting for us is the newcomers. DotAsia, as a new GTLD, I think one of the things is it's very difficult to switch people over to a new GTLD. But when new projects happen, new artists coming out, new conferences being set up, DotAsia becomes a very good choice. And that's, I think, in terms of new GTLDs, you can't look at the past, what the existing brands are, but what future projects are going to be. Because that, new GTLD is really all about the future, I think. And another important thing I think for DotAsia ourselves is also small, medium-sized companies that are getting online right now. Not about just the Fortune 500 that are already online, but the multitude of small, medium-sized companies that are coming just online from Beijing, from Tokyo, from Seoul. One of the interesting things about DotAsia is that in terms, as new GTLDs as well, in the past they will be either looking at their CCTLD or a .com, but .com of course is taken by the U.S. company and they're stuck with the CCTLD. But think about one of the value of .Asia is, for example, when a Japanese company wants to market into China, utilizing a .Asia creates that value, creates that friendliness and value, especially from just China to Japan, or Japan to China, or China to Korea. That's part of the value that new GTLDs bring, because domain names themselves are really part of the brand now. And I think when we think about the sort of success of new GTLDs, one of the sort of measures is whether they exist on billboards. And this is one of the things that we're exciting. We're starting to see people start to use new GTLDs in billboard ads, in everyday subway ads that you see. And on my flight, actually, this is on my flight over to New York, over in the in-flight magazine, I saw a .Asia domain, and I'm pretty excited about that, of course. But this is part of, come back to when you talk about new GTLDs, will they be used? I think, when you give a choice to a consumer and you tell them about it, people choose. That's the nature of the market, and that's the nature of how businesses work. And continuing forward, I think one of the things that, as I mentioned, understanding the marketplace is important. We, of course, continue to keep a tab on how the market is developing in Asia. For example, the growing online spending, e-commerce in terms, the growing online ad spending, and why this is important for domain names. I think a lot of people think about search and think about domain names and think they're somewhat of a substitute or replacement, but really that's not the case, because domain names play a lot, there's a lot of value in terms of, I think Ken mentioned earlier, the value of domain names on SEO and search, those kind of things. And in Asia, what we're seeing is a marked increase in search. People don't used to search that much, but now it has changed. And another thing that's developing, some of the things that we keep tab on, for example, Baidu exceeded tremendously the analysts' the expectations, and a lot of it is coming from search marketing, and I think that, along with another thing that I want to talk about, is that Google AdWords started supporting IDN. Roland brought up the issue about IDNs. I think that is going to be a core aspect for it. Obviously, those of you who know me, I've been fighting for IDNs for the last over 10, 12 years. And I think that's going to start to become a factor. A lot of people still sort of are skeptical about IDNs. What's the point? People can't type it in. It creates a universe that we English users can't type. But and also nobody uses them. People don't type in. They're used to ASCII domain names. So why bother? One of the things reason why I brought up search engine is because think about it. Even if today people in China are actually using ASCII domain names, but think about what they search. Will it? Would you even think that they would be searching the internet in English? Of course not. And that's true for Japan, for Korea, for the Arabic region. People are searching in their own native language. And that's going to make a difference when IDNs can happen in the top level and second level and the whole domain name. Because that, as I think most people know, that if your search term matches your domain name, then it naturally increases, naturally make you ranked higher in Google and Yahoo and other search engines. Another thing that's interesting, I think social network was brought up as well. When we talk about search, we cannot not talk about social networks today because they already exceed Google and Bing in terms of search traffic. And why is it relevant to IDN? Because in social networks, people only speak in their own language. You're not going to find a Chinese blogger trying to blog in English, right? I mean, really doesn't make sense. And that's why IDNs is important, because businesses are known in those native languages in those areas. And of course, doing a little bit of advertising now, it's DotAsia, we're going through the process. We're going through the IDN launch process, and we're going through the land rush right now, and it will last until October. But what's more important I want to bring about is that we just went through the Sunrise process for IDNs, and it's very much based on the ASCII Sunrise that we've done back in 2007, 2008. And a lot of people, when they talk about new GTLDs, they feel that Sunrise is such a bothersome process, and it's such a complicated thing to deal with all these brand owners. But actually, the way we look at it, and our experience is that it's actually a very important part of it, and it shows your commitment to run a TLD in a way that is useful for brand owners and useful for small and medium-sized companies. We had a very elaborate process for Sunrise, and in terms of IDNs, we have a very elaborate process for different types of protection, including variants, IDN variants. I won't go into detail about it, but I think at the end of the day, what I really want to bring out is that it's these type of processes that makes institutes like banks trust us. We're seeing one large bank in Asia, the Development Bank of Singapore, utilize DotAsia in their big campaign. It's I think it's a $60 million campaign that has DBS.Asia around Hong Kong, in Tokyo, in Seoul, in India, in China. And I think this is the kind of things. I mean, if you have a strong process that protects brands and protects intellectual property, protects people, these are brands and banks will start to trust you. I think that's a very important aspect. And of course, it's also a matter of price, value of domain names. I mean, this is just an example. We consistently, DotAsia consistently have pretty high sort of second-hand market as well. And these are all parts of, I think, in terms of building the value of a new GTLD. And as DotAsia ourselves have talked so much about marketing and so much about commercial value, but DotAsia ourselves, I just want to let everyone know that we are a not-for-profit organization, and basically all the income that comes in goes back to community projects, such as one laptop per child. We're sending laptops to rural villages, to children in rural villages. And these are just some of the things that we do. And these are things that a new GTLD project can bring together and provide and support for. You know, we're supporting Creative Commons in Asia. We're supporting entrepreneurship awards. We're supporting youth volunteer programs, bloggers around Asia, open source software. This is an R&D's fund, a digital inclusion grants fund. We're also supporting Relief.Asia, which helps send technology to disaster-ridden areas. And these are some of the things that we do. And to really close off, when we talk about new TLDs, we're also talking about new CCTLDs that are relaunched. And one of the things that DotAsia is doing is bringing all that knowledge that we have into these new TLDs. And one of them that we're working on right now is with the Macau government to operate .mo. And we're going to bring that experience into .mo, how to build a Macau and build the .mo project. And of course, recently we also announced that from DotAsia's point of view, I think new GTLDs are really important, especially for the Asian community. So DotAsia will be supporting different projects that are coming from Asia, funding-wise, expertise-wise, technical and other processes, policies, and especially community side. And you see that I think the other speakers didn't really put IDN, which is different languages TLDs, and this is going to be one of the areas that DotAsia would like to provide our expertise and knowledge for. And I think that's IDNs are definitely going to be a big part of the future as you think about all the really billions of people that are not yet online, and most of them do not speak English. So I guess to really wrap up, and I think the number of things: developing the community, facilitating a foundation of usage, developing mass market awareness, and it's a long process. DotAsia, actually, our process started in year 2000, and it was in 2007, 2008 that we actually launched. I think it will be a little bit, hopefully it'll be a little bit shorter this time, but it is a long process. It is, you have to be prepared. And I think a very important thing that we should think about is that it's not just about volume of registration, but about creating value, economic-wise, social-wise, and synergistic to your own product. These are part of the equation for new GTLD. But and also I mentioned this earlier, search. A lot of people think, you can just search. Why? When there's many TLDs, people would just search. I don't think that's exactly true. But domain name strategy, that's not a substitute. Search is not a substitute for domain, and I think IDNs is going to be an important part of that, and important part of why. But of course, we come back to this. I can say all the things, but I will probably be wrong most of the time because that's the nature of the market, and that's why people who would actually be using it in the future, they are going to define how it's going to look like. But if there's anything to take home, IBM.Asia is launching now, and one of the things I want to leave you with is that every .Asia domain actually contributes to internet development in Asia, and that's what .Asia is about. Thank you.